This is part two of the series on the Cultural Revolution then and now. Today we're going to talk about the ideological underpinnings, the goals, and how Mao thought it would achieve his aims of absolute power and achieving total cultural transformation of China. If you haven't already, there should be a link to part one where I talk about the historical background and the situation Mao found himself in. Mao found himself at least somewhat marginalized. His radical policies had been defeated by the moderates, and he was kind of left stewing and wondering how he was going to continue the revolution. Where were we going to go from there? And to kind of go back to how this relates to our timeline, or rather what's happening at present, you could maybe say this is somewhat analogous to the 1990s or the early 2000s before Obama, or as I like to call it, BO, where you still have the radicalism, you still have affirmative action, feminism, the LGBTQ, all that kind of stuff, but it's more subdued than it was during the 1960s. The radicalism's still there, you're still getting legislation passed, but it's a bit in the background. Now, before we continue, I think the biggest question, if we're going to try to draw parallels, is who launched the current cultural revolution? Because something that's kind of very different, I think, between Mao's cultural revolution and the current one we're going through is there's not a clear leader of it. While Mao's cultural revolution obviously had ideological goals, at its core it was about obtaining absolute power for Mao. There's no clear leader of our cultural revolution, unless George Soros is a bigger 5D chess master than we all thought he was. There's not a specific person who's attempting to gain absolute power. And kind of something we'll get into is the Cultural Revolution wasn't even about the Communist Party gaining more power, because Mao wound up purging a lot of them, and if anything, it was about eliminating the power of the party in favor of his sole power. So who does the current Cultural Revolution benefit? I think, by and large, and I know it's kind of a cliche, but it benefits the neoliberal oligarchy. If you look at the strongest supporters of historical revisionism, destroying statues, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ rights, all these kind of things, it's almost entirely corporations and the wealthy. Almost all of them will immediately adopt whatever the cause du jour of the moment is and adopt it really hard, be it AIDS, or I guess there was kind of Sudan, then there was Coney, all the LGBTQ stuff. You also have racism and that sort of thing. Like, as soon as Black Lives Matter emerged, virtually all of America's companies declared allegiance to it. You had of course, you had stuff like Gamergate. You had stuff like the general inserting of liberal themes, or really radical themes, into video games, movies, books, music, all that kind of stuff. All of this was very strongly spearheaded by corporations and supported by them. Now, the reason for this, I think, is to destroy all their political adversaries. That is, anybody who is in opposition to neoliberalism. So if you look at it, the people they hate the most are the people who are against the neoliberal world order. So I describe the neoliberal world order kind of interestingly like Maoism is globalism. So some people were asking me, Argent, what's the difference between internationalism and globalism? I'd say the difference is internationalism accepts that there is a state-based world order, but wants cooperation between the states. It wants things like international law, international organizations. It wants cooperation, whereas globalism wants if not the destruction, the fading away of the states in favor of kind of a global, not necessarily mega state, but just kind of a stateless world that's controlled by something else, by non-state actors. In the case of Maoism, it's the party and kind of the amorphous concept of the revolution. In the case of neoliberals, it's the mega corporations that sort of thing. So what the mega corporations hate is they hate protectionism. They hate, ironically enough, economic leftism, populism, nationalism, the traditional family, anything that kind of gets in the way or undermines their desire to have this globalized, blended world where there's no individual cultures or no individual borders. And part of this is if the whole world has one culture, it's easier to sell things because you don't have to individualize them. You don't have to take into account local values. You can just make one product for the entirety of the world. It's also, I think, a way of making barriers to entry so high that other companies can't enter the market. Because that's really one of the things behind a lot of environmental regulations is they're not about helping the environment. It's about making it so expensive for new firms that they can't afford to have like departments of lawyers and that kind of thing. And I think part of woke capitalism is that, where companies like Disney can afford to destroy Star Wars in favor of their political goals and lose billions of dollars, whereas smaller companies have to make stuff that people actually want. They can't afford to blow through money like that. And if they want to be not persecuted and not shut down, they have to do these abasements towards the government and the people in power. Getting back to the Cultural Revolution in Mao's time, much as with now, the goal was to destroy basically everything representing the past. This puritanical view was promoted that everything that existed before the current year was evil, reactionary, and rightist. And the reason we hadn't achieved true equality, the reason that the communist revolution hadn't succeeded, as the revolution today hasn't succeeded, wasn't because the premise was flawed or anything like that. No, the issue was the spurious variables. So one of the things Mao had wanted to do for a long time, and he had more or less just been pocket vetoed by the party, was to destroy traditional Chinese culture. So, for instance, he wanted to destroy, I think it was something like 80 to 90% of the monuments in Beijing. And just the monuments throughout the country he wanted to demolish. He wanted to demolish most of China's temples, commemorative arches. A lot of Chinese cities, I believe Nanjing was one of them, used to have city walls, but they were all pulled down during Mao's time. He had told one of his architects that, I want all these monuments to be replaced by smokestacks. I want China to become a completely industrialized country. We need to get rid of all these distractions so we can just focus on work. And a bit like as in 1984, and I know it's kind of cliche to refer to 1984, culture is kind of seen as a form of self-actualization that detracted from total focus and total obedience to the party. So as I said, Mao's goal was to pretty much just destroy absolutely everything. So this included the traditional Chinese novels. I think they're called the four Chinese classics. That would be like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Water Margin, Journey to the West, and Dream of the Red Chamber, if I'm getting them right. Chinese theater opera was extremely popular. Like in the West, we kind of see opera as being something the elites enjoy, but in China, it was a popular form of entertainment. He wanted to ban or destroy all the traditional Chinese operas, get rid of movies, books, all that kind of stuff. The irony is a lot of these things were created by his regime. That the Communist Party had, of course, mass-produced its own novels, its own plays, its own operas, and those were also on the chopping block. So I guess the question is, why? How did Mao think that this would help him seize absolute power? So I think there's a couple different reasons for this. The first one is it was a charge of being a counter-revolutionary. If we're going to adopt this standard, he could level at pretty much everyone. Because no one wanted to destroy traditional Chinese culture aside from him and a couple radicals. Because at the end of the day, the Communist Party was, at least theoretically, nationalist. As some of the heirs of Sun Yat-sen's thought, at least how they portrayed themselves, they saw themselves as defenders of China from the imperialist powers. And even if they said, okay, some of the reactionary stuff, some of the monarchist stuff needed to be banned, we need to preserve what's kind of quintessentially Chinese. So basically, any member of the party could be accurately charged with attempting to undermine Mao, with attempting to undermine this destruction of traditional culture. And if we're going to set this standard that anyone who enjoys it is a traitor, then once again that applies to everybody. So Mao basically kind of had a casus belli to take down literally anybody that he wanted. And while it started out initially as just targeting the artisan class, it eventually allowed him to persecute the elites. And that's something we haven't seen in our current kind of situation yet, is the elites haven't really strongly been attacked. We've seen the destruction of a lot of, I guess you could say, disloyal elites, like CEOs or businessmen who aren't getting on board with the program, who tweet something bad and then they get removed from power. But the actual core elite, the people who spearheaded this thing, haven't really been destroyed yet. And we don't know how much the revolution is going to eat itself because we don't truly know who's behind everything. I think the second reason is it made it a lot easier to unleash a mob if it's something as simple as everything. So you can smash every statue, destroy every play, ban every movie. Everything is bad. And once again, we can see that we're gradually we're seeing statues that aren't even related to slavery or whatever the stated goal is getting destroyed. We're seeing statues of Christopher Columbus getting destroyed, Christian statues, statues of abolitionists, statues of black regiments. If you're going to unleash a mob, it's useful to just be able to tell them to just go destroy everything you can find. Everything is the enemy. It also makes it a lot easier to purge the people who helped you at the end of this, who could possibly pose a rival, pose any kind of opposition to you. Another goal was that if they were able to eliminate all culture, then people wouldn't have anything else to do other than work and to partake in political activities. And we can kind of see this with work hours, with how the neoliberal world order has nothing but contempt for workers' rights. And they basically kind of want to ban every form of entertainment people actually like. From video games people actually like, to movies people actually like, to books, to all that kind of stuff. They want to ban it all. And if you notice, what tends to happen as this stuff disappears is people, particularly my generation and the Zoomers, get more and more involved in politics. Like if you look at what happened in the Chaz, a lot of that was just them having political rallies where they're just discussing how to continue the revolution and how to make it more extreme. And that's kind of what the neoliberal elites want, is they want a compliant population who's just going to spend all their time working to make them more money and is just going to carry the revolution on further and further and further. So they kind of have this permanent tool to eliminate any of their aims. And once again, as I said earlier, a goal is to eliminate all possible sources of opposition. So in the case of Mao, this was any kind of, I guess you could say, conservative, any kind of nationalist, any kind of pragmatist, anything like that, so that all that remained is radicalism. And once again, we're seeing this in the purger of off of social media of even very normal conservative voices. Even center left voices are getting drowned out as well. The idea being to just all in one sweep. Once again, this is part of why you adopt this scattershot, attack everybody style of revolution. And you can also see this as a way of ensuring the permanent success of the revolution. Because if you eliminate all memory of something that existed before, there's not really anything to feel nostalgic about. There's not really anything to go back to. If you're able to destroy, I always like to think that identity is almost entirely based on memory. And if you can eliminate the memory of the people, it's a form of cultural genocide. It's a way of destroying them almost as surely as breeding them out of existences. They lose all kind of collective memory. They lose kind of what makes them them. And you see this with the South, where they're attempting to destroy everything quintessentially Southern from Confederate statues to songs to movies like Gone with the Wind. Anything that kind of makes up their culture is being eliminated. And that was also something they wanted to do in China, that once the Cultural Revolution succeeded, once everything traditionally Chinese was gone, then there would be nothing left to return to. So I think this mostly covers what part two is. I was trying to kind of talk about what Mao's goal was, how he thought the Cultural Revolution would help him achieve it. And we're going to finish off with part three, where we're going to talk about how they actually carried out the Cultural Revolution and what its aftermath was. So I hope you're enjoying the series, part three to come.